Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Artorigold and today I will be making a tier list on Gundam Evolution. Now, for those of you who don't know, I am actually a former top 500 and Grandmaster Overwatch player. So I do have a bit of knowledge on the scene and I wanted to kind of give you my thoughts. I did play this game quite a bit. I'll show you a little bit here. I still have it under my favorites. The game I played for about 40 hours. I reached about 2300. I was very excited and happy to see this game, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. However, I've been looking at some other tier lists here, and I just can't help but feel they are completely wrong. For example, I've seen a tier list with Zaku at the bottom. I've seen tier lists with Dom Trooper on the bottom, and I just don't get it. I don't really understand what they're talking about. I played the game at a pretty high rank, and I played a lot, and I think I know a little bit more than them, so I'm going to give two different tier lists. One for the average solo queue experience, which is the one I will be going over now, and later I will show you the high top tier competitive, or six stacking, and that kind of meta, which I do believe it is a bit different. Uncoordinated solo queue play versus coordinated six stack play meta type of stuff. So this is going to be the very beginning here at the bottom. I'm just going to have to say I think this hero is the worst, and it is Marasai. Now the thing about this hero is that he has a huge hitbox. His gun is okay. His abilities are slow. Now having a hook ability in the game, it's good if you can land it, but as you can tell, Gundam Evolution, a very fast-paced game. It's very difficult to land that hook, let alone every character has the ability to dash. Some characters have 3 dashes, and on top of that, you can also block the hook with 1 shield, 2 shield, and 3 shield. So you have 3 characters that can block it, and a lot of other characters can just kind of dash away, because the hook is just so slow, and if you see a Marasai in front of you, you can kind of just assume and guess that he's going to try to hook you, and then as long as you stay mobile, bam, nothing's going to happen. The only thing really good about Marasai is his ultimate. It's very good. It stuns in a AoE. It can go through shields, and it's great for a 2CP type game mode if you're trying to control point. Sure, that's good, but out of his entire kit, I would much rather have somebody play a different character. Your average Marasai is just not going to land any hooks. He's going to take a lot of damage because his hitbox is just so easy to hit, similar to Guntank. And all around, I think this hero needs a lot of buffs or changes. Maybe give him 1400 health. I don't know. That might help him. His gun, while it is fun, it is a pretty powerful medium range weapon. The OG Gundam has kind of a very similar weapon, but way more powerful. And his kit is all around just better. So, yeah, definitely the worst hero in my book. Next up, solo queue, Turn A. I think Turn A is extremely strong in some situations, but for the most part, his kit is flawed. I think he's underwhelming. This character can be really good, but your average Turn A player is going to be really bad, and that's the whole point of this tier list. Your average Marasai, bad. Your average Turn A, bad. Now, when you look at Turn A's kit, his gun is pretty cool, but it has a lot of flaws. First off, his reload is extremely long, and on top of that, his charged shots, his right click, which is basically his main DPS, it's a little bit weird to aim because it is a projectile. On top of that, his piercing effect doesn't really get a whole lot of use. Simply put, if you are shooting at a target and it's going to hit someone behind it, more often than not, that target in the front is probably going to be a Sazabi. And it doesn't go through shields, so the pierce effect isn't really going to do much against a good player. Now, the big thing about Turn A that's actually really good is that his F ability, his little grapple ability. What's really cool about that is it does do a lot of work against high mobile, not exactly high mobile targets, they can dodge it, but it does do a lot of work against the highly mobile Barbatos, or Barbatos. I'm not sure how to say his name, to be quite honest. Gundam Barbatos.
How do you read this?
Huh? Gundam frame type, Barbaro. What?
We'll get there. Anyways, you can basically have a huge amount of damage reduction, so he's not going to full out kill you, and you can counter it But the big problem afterwards is that you can't really kill him. Turn A does so little damage, and typically because his right click also takes 2 shots, 2 ammo out of his 10, you might just need to reload, so you just could get stuck in a lot of situations where, yeah, you get the grapple off and you live, but you do so little damage that you're just not going to kill him. So all around, I think while Turn A's kit is pretty cool, like his ultimate's really good and everything, he's just too weak, and I would much rather have almost any other hero doing damage instead. He's very good at staying alive, but that's about it. All around, you might as well just choose Pale Rider. Pale Rider has better heal ability than he does as well, and he does way more damage output. Moving on to the C tier, I believe we got GM. GM is situational. He's not good in every situation, and that's why he's on my C tier list. He has some cool things that you can do. For example, if you're on defense, you can go ahead to the spawn door, put a firebomb there, and you can get a bunch of ult charge, maybe even a kill. I do think his shield and shooting at the same time is really good, maybe if you're trying to stall a point, especially on one of the King of Hill maps. Other than that, he's just all around a bit weaker. I don't think he's that good. If you're looking for someone to stall the point, I think Zaku is better. Zaku can do more damage output. I do think the firebomb is really good, and maybe the repair bomb has a lot of utility, but if you're looking to heal people, there's other characters that I think do it better. GM, not terrible, but C. C is basically average. Definitely a lot better up than the people on the D tier. Now, moving on to that, I'm going to put Guntank here. I think Guntank is actually a really solid hero. He has a pretty big flaw, and that's his hitbox. His hitbox is one of the easiest to hit in the game, and it really reminds me of Zenyatta. He doesn't do, too much damage, but he also auto-aims, so it's pretty fair. You don't really want an auto-aim hero to do a ton of damage. Now, if I'm looking at this in the competitive sense, I think Guntank is worse. But for a solo queue, I'd be more than happy to have an average player that I'm not really confident in, that I've never seen or met before, to play Guntank. How often is it that you would play a shooting game and you're like, man, my team sucks? Well, if they're playing Guntank, they're always going to be useful. They're always going to hit their shots, so there's always going to be some form of DPS going out there. Now, some of the better things about it, if you can do it, is his quick res. Resing is pretty difficult against good players. However, it can be very good still. Being able to get that quick res off, it is very strong. You just don't get to see it very often. Again, on the other side of that, his ultimate. Pretty much just Junkrat tire. Very powerful if using on a point. So with that being said, if your average run of the player was, not very good, and not very confident in him, I would probably ask him to swap the Guntank, because you can at least contribute something no matter what. Next up on the list on heroes that aren't really underwhelming, but just not as good as the best, we're going to go ahead with Exia. Here's the thing about Exia. I think Exia has a lot of potential, and he's a really good hero. Lots of mobility, lots of damage, can go through shields. The big issue with Exia is he's hard to play, very hard to play. If you have someone on your team playing Exia, I'm not going to be confident that he's doing his job. If you know a friend that's good at Exia, then that's a little bit different. But your average solo queue player, probably not going to be very good at Exia, probably doesn't know how to play him, and you'd rather just wish he was playing Barbatos instead. Pretty much all I got to say about that. High skill ceiling hero. Moving on from that, we have Asshimar. I'm not exactly sure if I'm pronouncing all of these names right. I may be butchering them, and I apologize for that. This character is pretty good. He has a lot of mobility. One of the things that I really like about him is actually his fire grenade and his ultimate. The fire grenade, I really like that because one, it's completely bugged and it goes through walls, and you can exploit that pretty heavily.
I think the GM... I died through a wall. I died through a wall!
I came to laugh at you.
Secondly, it works really well on people who are trying to res downed bodies. You might not always have the time or chance to confirm. We call it confirming, me and my friend group anyways. So you throw a fire grenade on those bodies, nobody can touch it unless they're going to take a ton of damage and get punished. And you can kind of use that as bait in order to bait the enemy team to go for the res, then all of a sudden they're burning, they're on fire. The fire grenade is much, much better. It does a little bit less damage than GM, and rather have that kind of consistency rather than this close range burst damage that GM does. Another thing that's great about Asshimar, his ult stuns. You can't really go wrong with any stun abilities, but all around I think his gun does a fair amount of damage. His mobility is great. You just gotta worry about big snipers, and if you have a good sniper on the enemy team, your character's not going to be that impactful floating around in the sky. Otherwise, if you're untouched, he can do a ton of damage, and he's very easy to play, and that's why I would much rather have him over the much more difficult to play Exia on my team. Moving on to that, we have the B+ tier. Definitely standouts, much better than B tier, but just quite not meta. And that's basically what I'm defining the A and up. That's meta heroes, right? Those are the heroes, oh man, they're so good, you gotta have them on your team if you're solo climbing. So, first up, Dom. Dom Boy's really good. He's a very large hitbox. He has a big weakness when taking damage. However, you get a Dom over here, and he's throwing armor guns over on Barbatos. It is unreal. Barbatos is unstoppable if Dom is armor gunning. Like, the armor gun is so good just in general. It's basically just an instant heal. It reminds me of very old Day 1 Brigitte. She throws an E on somebody, bam, they have armor. And we all know how broken that was, right? So, this is very strong. His gun is very consistent. AoE rocket damage is very consistent, especially if you have like big choke points you're trying to defend on 2CP. Very good. His right-click charge beam also does an immense amount of damage. It's crazy. The right-click charge beam has a ton of damage. This character has a lot of potential. You just have to play very cautiously with him and very safe. Don't get too aggressive with this character. He doesn't have the mobility, he doesn't have that much health, and he's very easy to hit. His ultimate is a bit lacking, but it is very annoying. If you're trying to hold down a point on defense, this character is obscenely good. Moving on from that, Pale Rider. Now, Pale Rider is just consistent good damage, and his heal is insane. It's weird when you look at turn A's heal because it's only solo, and it's also incredibly slower, and the cooldown is way worse. Pale Rider's heal alone is infinitely better than turn A's. It heals way more, it heals more people, and the cooldown's better. And then on top of that, he does way more consistent damage than turn A, and his ultimate is obscenely good. As long as you get the timing down for his Hades, then you'll be fine. Because the biggest issue with him right now is that tiny little animation that you have when you use your ultimate and when the ultimate ends. I find myself doing a ton of work with it, but then I always keep forgetting about little animation that happens at the end of the ultimate. It doesn't feel very good to have that little animation at the end of the ultimate. While maybe it is balanced and that was the purpose of it, I really don't like it. It doesn't feel good. That's something the developers I hope can take note of. Maybe make Hades a little bit weaker. It does enough damage already. You could definitely make it weaker. Get rid of the little animation at the end. Keep the one in the beginning if you want. Get rid of the one at the end. That one's weird. It feels weird. I don't like it. Either way, Pale Rider, very strong. Also, his little grenade ability, man, he chucks that thing. It's crazy fast. I don't know. It's crazy. It basically reminds me of Soldier 76 from Overwatch. You just can't go wrong with this hero. He's good. Moving on from that, we of course have, where is he? Zaku 2. This guy, on average, maybe not as good as what some other heroes could be in the upper tiers. However, very, very fast hero. Very, very huge amounts of damage. His ultimate is great if people know how to use it. It's essentially just Tracer, right? It's Tracer. This character is Tracer. I love this hero. He's fantastic. I've been playing him a lot. He does have some downsides, but I think the skill ceiling on the downsides are easy to manage. For example, one of his big downsides is his reload speed really sucks, but you can kind of offset that if you realize, oh, you can one-clip people. Just make sure that you can sneak up on people, get into the right range that you want to be in so your gun can do maximum damage, and then all of a sudden you're one-clipping people and the reload doesn't really matter. I love this character. I think he's basically perfectly balanced. I think that he has a very high skill ceiling, very reminiscent of Exia, but he also is much easier to learn rather than Exia, because he's a shooting character and he plays like Tracer. As soon as you just sit there, Like, when I played this character, I was like, I don't know, like, what am I doing wrong? He feels weak. And then I'm like, wait, he has 3 dashes, 800 health. His gun is just really up close. This is Tracer. As soon as I had that in my mindset that this character was Tracer, and I started playing like Tracer, it just changed the entire game. It changed everything. As soon as everybody realizes that you're supposed to play this guy like Char Aznable, you're the red comment, you're fast. That's how you play this character. It's a game changer. Get in, do your one clip, don't stick around, get out. You're not supposed to just sit there and reload in the middle of it. You go in there, you use your whole clip, you get out. That's it. Reposition, get your charges back. That's the play style. It's Tracer, right? This character is really good. As more and more people start playing the game and realizing that, this character is only going to get better. That's it for B+. Let's go ahead and move on to the meta. The meta. Here on A tier, the weakest of the A tier, OG Gundam. I love this hero. He's my main. He might be the weakest in the A tier, but he's still standalone, very powerful. And the reason why he is a mechanical hero, you have to hit your shots. His left click and right, you hold down right click and left click. It does a ton of damage. It's very reminiscent of Ash, except that his kit in general is just better. He has a shield that he can use at any time to help protect himself from anything. And then he has his mace that I absolutely love. And his mace actually makes him so good as well, because if you have an enemy hero with a shield, such as, well, an enemy OG or a GM or a Sazabi, which we'll get to, you can basically just break that shield completely, which also makes this hero just meta-defining. Because, as you'll see, Sazabi is just so good, so powerful, so impactful. His shield is too good. This mace, countering his shield, makes this guy A tier alone. But on top of that, if you're hitting headshots or hitting those doinks, this character is unstoppable. The only big downside to OG Gundam in my book, his ultimate. You can shoot and kill his ultimate. I get it. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. Personally, I wish he just had a beam saber ultimate or something, kind of reminiscent from the anime. I thought that would have been pretty cool. You go in and you do like a beam saber slash, similar to how Zaku goes in and does his slash with his axe, right? It's yin and yang. It's perfect. It's poetry. It rhymes. I love it. That would have been great. I don't know. The bomb is good though. It's very good. You throw it on a point. It does a lot of work. Downside, of course, enemies can shoot it. They can kill it. So, I don't know. It's not that fun either. Like, the rest of his kit is extremely fun and very rewarding if you're good mechanically. And his ultimate isn't really. You just kind of throw a giant AoE. It's good though. I mean, I've gotten 4Ks with it. You put it on a point. You can take points with it. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. It's a good ultimate, very impactful, but it's not fun to use, if that makes sense. I'd rather have a fun ultimate that's kind of on the weaker side, or something more reminiscent to the anime, such as a beam saber, rather than a very powerful ultimate that's boring to use. That's how I feel. Now, moving on. Methuss. Methuss is basically the healer. He's good. You have a Methuss on the team. You don't have a Methuss on the enemy team. The amount of impact that you have from that is unreal. Being able to attach a repair cable to someone is tons of value. I mean, we're talking about a game where there's not many healing options, right? So being able to go in and just right-click to somebody and forget about it and continue doing damage, it's amazing. On top of that, he has his turret, where a lot of people have these very cheesy spots that they put on there. I've seen them put it like on very specific points where you can't really see it, and it's very difficult to kind of like keep it in your mind, and it's doing a ton of damage. It's just really good. It's infinite value, right? You put a turret down, it's value. It auto hits people. You put it in a weird spot, it's great. On top of that, you have consistent healing, consistent damage. You have a great mobility move. You can escape with it, get in the air, hover with it. And then on top of that, your ultimate is Nano, which is obscenely broken when used with heroes like Sazabi and Barbatos. You can, of course, use it on other heroes as well, because it gives you a fat amount of damage and damage reduction. It's just Nano Boost. The hero is insanely good. You can't go wrong with Methuss. He's so good. The amount of value that you get from this hero, and if the enemy team or your team doesn't have one and you see one on the opposing team, it's crazy. The amount of value is just unreal. This hero is meta for sure. Although you might not want to play him, you're going to want to have him. Next up, Sniper. Sniper one-shots are insane. The head hitboxes on some characters are so easy to hit. You have an enemy Guntank or a Dawn Trooper, whatever. Extremely easy to hit targets with Sniper. They're gone. On top of that, you also have your F ability, which shoots out your Vulcan cannons out of your head. Extremely powerful. And you can use it while scoped. And it's fairly accurate at almost any range. It's actually unbelievable. He's so good. His ult is a little underwhelming, although you can do trick shots in the air, and you have widow walls. You know, it's not that exciting. But basically, he feels really good and very powerful. His Vulcan gun and his scope shots are amazing. One big reason why I think he's also really good is, unlike in other games like Team Fortress 2 and Overwatch with Widowmaker and snipers in those games, you have to charge your shots before they do maximum damage. You don't have to do that at all. And that's why this character is so strong. You don't need to have charged shots. You just start going, you just start shooting. People are dropping like flies, man. Another great thing about him, he has a long-range res, so that's also really good. You might not be able to get the long-range res off a ton, but you might as well use it all the time. It's free, right? You click one button, maybe the res happens, maybe it doesn't. What's the big deal? You get back to sniping afterwards, right? Doesn't matter. Sniper, extremely good. And not that hard. You can just hit body shots with them. Next on, with the extremely meta-defining characters, if you have these characters in your team, you're happy. If you don't have them on your team, you better pick them, because that's how much value they have. A+ tier, Sazabi. Absolutely busted. Absolutely so good. He has one of the most powerful guns. I mean, it one-shots people at close range, while also having a shield, making him one of the most durable and extremely hard to kill heroes. And including his mobility, I mean, his axe stuns people as well to go through enemy Sazabis, so you can outplay them and outplay shield heroes. You can also have one of the strongest ultimates that just is auto aim on crack, right? It's just these, you have your funnels or whatever, they auto shoot. It's nuts. This hero is so good. It's so insanely broken, I don't even know where to begin. His shield is broken, his shotgun's broken, his shield's broken, his axe, his mobility, his ultimate. Everything is too good with this hero. It's too good. I don't know. He needs to get nerfed somehow on the number side of things. Leave it up to the developer to, to figure out what they want to do. I think he's way too strong. He's a must pick. Having a Sazabi and not having a Sazabi, it's way too crazy. And even more can be said about this guy, the anime protagonist guy himself. You choose this, you are the anime protagonist in the game. You are. This character, Gundam Barbatos, is so strong. He one-shots, he stuns, he confirms, he has mobility, he's in the air, he's anywhere he wants to go. It's insane. This character is day one Brig on crack. It's day one Brig with 3 dashes and one-shot capabilities. It's unreal. AoE stun. I mean, the ultimate, insane. You can use it while mid-air. Get insane ult value. This character is so busted, you can have a little baby child play this character and get top 10. That easy. A monkey could do it. I'm not kidding you. This character is busted. If you were trying to solo queue, this is what you need on your team. This is the kind of stuff you're looking for, is A and up. If you're looking to climb, play A and up. Main one of these heroes. These heroes are always going to be good. Main these heroes if you're looking to climb. I'm telling you. If you have these heroes on your team, maybe ask them to switch. There's a lot better options out there. This is my tier list for solo queue. Now, I'm going to quickly show you my tier list for competitive meta stuff. And I'm not going to go through it one by one. Here it is. So, in a meta environment, in a top rank environment, this is what the tier list will look like. This is involving 6 stacks. This is involving high skill players. At the bottom, Guntank. Why? Because you'd rather have a high skill player utilizing one of the higher damage. You'd rather have a good sniper than a good Guntank. Good sniper takes off heads and one-shots people. A good Guntank, he'll tickle them, right? You can understand what I'm getting at here. The higher the skill ceiling the player is here, they can fully utilize the Gundam, right? It's the difference between having a no-name pilot in a Zaku 2, and Char Aznable in a Zaku 2. Which is why you can see some of these heroes have been moved up, right? Guntank moved down. Marasai moved up. You're hitting hooks, he's a little bit better. Turn A, a little bit up. You hit your charge shots, a little bit better. You hit more of those grapples, he's a little bit better. Because trust me, if you have a solo queue turn A, they're probably missing the grapple, and that's not value. Now, if you go to B+, you'll notice that I moved up Exia. Exia obviously goes up because he's a very high skill ceiling hero. He's very good if you can utilize him well. I just think he's a lot weaker, and I'd rather have a Barbatos, even though they're kind of similar. Zaku 2 moves on up with A. He's an extremely high skill ceiling hero. He can put in a lot of work if people know how to play him. He's extremely hard to kill. Lots of damage. His ultimate, you also get it pretty fast as well. Sniper, enough said. You're hitting more headshots. He has more value. Methuss is up here in S tier now. Now this is a big one, and I wanted to talk about this specifically. You have a Methuss attached to the hip to a Sazabi. That Sazabi ain't dying. You put a nano boost on that Sazabi ain't dying. And he's one-shotting more. And if the Sazabi uses his ult with nano boost, everybody's dead. This is why Methuss is S tier. You combine these two characters, it's S tier. In solo queue, it's also S tier. Namely, that is the main point that I want to make with this competitive tier list. These two characters together, attached at the hip, are busted. Anyways, guys, I mean, I don't need to say anything about this guy, do I? You guys have played the game, right? This character's busted. It's broken. It needs to be nerfed. He's way too easy. Like, I feel bad for Exia mains almost. Like, anybody that plays Exia has to put in work in order to be half as good as Barbatos, dude. It ain't fair. Barbatos is it's a little too easy. Let's be honest. No insult necessary. I mean, I don't mean to be mean, but like he's way too good with how easy. I mean, it's a little too busted. It feels like conspiracy theory time. They made him good on purpose so you guys would watch Iron Blood. That's what it felt like to me. Anyways, guys, that's my tier list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you want me to talk about something else Gundam related. I love Gundam Evolution, and I'm really excited for the game to come out. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. See you guys later.